Hello, everyone. Today in the Dynamic Principal series, we have amongst us Mr. Paul J. Page, who is the headmaster of King's College India, situated in Rohtak. He's someone who has years of experience in teaching and managing schools, not just in India and UK, but also in countries like Botswana, South Africa, Tanzania, and many more. He's an avid reader who loves reading mainly biographies and autobiographies. He's loved by all his teachers, support staff, and students because of his humble nature and approachability. In his own words, running a school and teaching, it never felt like work, more like a way of life. So I do consider this area to be a place where I spend valuable and enjoyable time. Welcome, Paul, sir, to our Dynamic Principal series.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
So, sir, how does it feel to be a headmaster and how did you become one? Please take us through your journey.
It's quite an interesting one. I think initially all I ever wanted to be was a teacher, and I still am a teacher first and foremost, before being a headmaster or principal. And you know, I taught since when I was 16, I suppose. That was kind of what turned me on to teaching and switched me onto it. And then from there, that's really all I wanted to do. And in a way, it was my wife who, after a long debate about what to do next, back in, I think, 2010 or 2011, she was the one saying, look, you're complaining about education. You want to make these changes. The only way you're going to do it is if you start taking a bit more responsibility and changing things from within. So she kind of convinced me that that was the way forward. So from that point on, that was when I started looking for ways to develop as an individual, as a teacher, researching a lot more on educational philosophies. And yeah, my first post was as a curriculum specialist for Manchester College in the UK. And then from there, as much as I enjoyed that, I did quite a lot of work with adult education at that point. I'd had quite a bit of experience with both Key Stage 3, 4 and 5. And I realized that my sort of passion lay in sort of, you know, the whole sort of primary, secondary and A-level sector of education as opposed to adult education. So I kind of moved on from that one, and then that was my first deputy head post in South Africa, and from there it was really just a case of, okay, how do I continue to make changes? Because I made a few changes in South Africa which completely transformed the curriculum and results and the quality of grades that the school was achieving with the students. So I took that knowledge elsewhere, and that led on to a headship, and now this is my third headship. Kind of the school that I've always been working towards more than anything else. And you know, do I enjoy being a head? Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. But the office here is where I do my headship work, and where I suppose I do my favorite work is in the classroom, if I'm honest with you, being amongst the students.
Yes, listening to you reminds me of that line from the film Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Yes. So sir, talking about the institution, when was the institution founded, and what are the core ideals and values that the institution is based on?
Sure. We're founded in 2016, and so it's our 6th year of operation. And of course, during that time, we've gone through a pandemic and everything. But our values really are quite simple. And I think they sort of encompass what it is to be a human being. Firstly, it's to provide an education that develops students' curiosity and satisfies their creativity, encourages it. Second is to grow responsible and engaged learners. Third would be to foster tolerance, acceptance and understanding of others around them. Then we look at the curriculum in and of itself, and it should be rich, it should be relevant, and allows our students to succeed. We want to promote incredibly strong links with our community and our families. A lot of what we do and where we grow comes from feedback from our community and the families, and really to have great expectations of ourselves, our staff and our pupils. You know, they can be anything they want to be, as long as we do the right job. And our motto is a kinder you, a kinder world, and that really underpins everything that we are. I'm a great believer in servant leadership, and I think my primary role here is to serve our teachers, serve our pupils, so that they grow, and they look back and think, okay, yeah, this is how I made it.
I think the motto is very relevant in today's world where bullying is a very common problem. So, sir, I've observed that especially in India, not many parents are very clear about the difference between a CBSE school and the Cambridge curriculum. Could you please share some information about this?
Sure. Of course, there will always be sort of links between the two, particularly in common subjects like mathematics, the sciences. I think that the best way to explain it is how I explained it to a teacher several years ago, because the CBSE, very similar to the UK national curriculum or curricula around the world, basically you have a list of objectives that you need to achieve. And that's fundamentally what governs any curriculum. With Cambridge, it's slightly different in that when you've achieved those objectives, that means you've just started. So you always go to the next level, always. So as an A-level teacher of literature, I teach at undergraduate level in order for my students to succeed. The second key difference, I think, is in the manner in which lessons are delivered. We base our delivery a lot more on active learning strategies. So we don't believe in just giving the answer to children. Children have to work it out and reach for it and gain that answer and work out the muscle that is the brain. So those to me are the two fundamental differences. I think the third one would probably be the variety of subjects that we offer within our curriculum. It gives our students a lot more choice, I think, to explore their strengths and weaknesses, where their passions might lie, and also hopefully dictate their future a little bit. Yeah.
Sorry. Great. So how do you encourage students to engage more in classroom activities, especially those who are introverted, backbenchers, who do not mingle much with the teachers and even with their other classmates?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few things that we do both in front of the students and behind the scenes. I suppose in front of the students, we have a great drama program. Ms. Tansy is an amazing drama teacher, which grows confidence. There are lots of opportunities for performance, lots of opportunities for public speaking, which helps people come out of their shell quite a lot. Behind the scenes, the key part of any lesson is facilitating a safe zone for any child. And by a safe zone, I mean a place where a student feels comfortable to fail. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it's through failure that we learn the lessons and we succeed and grow and everything else. So creating that kind of environment is really, really important. Beyond that, I mean, we have things like we're growing in our metacognitive understanding, both the students and staff at the school. So students understanding how they learn allows us to change the curriculum and the way we deliver and individualize our curriculum in accordance with the needs of each pupil. So it's the golden nugget, isn't it? You know, being able to create a wholly individualized curriculum for every single learner. The only thing I would add to that is a big positive is really our class sizes. And if you look at most mainstream schools, government schools or those running national curricula, the average contact time in a core subject per student is around about 6 minutes. So that's for a class of 25 to 30 students. So we have a maximum class size of 20 students, which does allow us quite a bit more time to individualize and focus and support. On top of that, we've got our special needs department. We also encourage our students to support each other, which is a huge thing.
Yes, I agree with you, because when I was in school and when I see the scenario these days, there are about 30 is too less. At times it goes up to 40 students in one classroom. And I just wonder, what are the things that they're really learning?
Yeah.
Another thing is that, see, every school, and everyone likes to focus on schools' highs. But what are your school's lows, and how have you been improving on them?
Yeah, I think one of the lows is yet to come, when our students return back to full examination, still suffering from the hangover from the pandemic. So we've got a lot of work to be done there in terms of just hitting all our key markers to make sure they're ready for examination. And we'll see how that goes. We're playing it by ear, basing it on data and seeing how the students react. The other one, which is a lot closer to my heart, was I suppose in a way the destruction of sporting teams and facilities that just declined during the pandemic, and we're having to rebuild everything. So, you know, a swim team takes at least 6 months to bring together. A good football team, you know, you're looking at 3 to 4 months. Cricket died a death during the pandemic, and we're rebuilding all of that, having to rebuild infrastructure. So we're getting there, but it's a long process for sport to come back, definitely.
True. And sir, how do you help students choose a university course, or how do you prepare them to be university ready?
Well, the first thing we do is we're happy to invest in companies like Zenit, who come along and help us with their advice and guide them. We've also got a structure in place where we have a Key Stage 5 coordinator who takes care of our standard 11s and 12s. In that regard, teachers are on hand all the time, constantly, to answer questions about access to university, and everybody's quite well versed with all of that. And of course, we run a personal, social and health education program, which deals with preparing for university, independent living, relationships, drugs, alcohol, all those things that can be quite uncomfortable to talk about at home or even with teachers. So we have a structure for that. But I think the best advice that I ever give to students, I've done this for a long time, is knowledge is power. The more that they can find out themselves, rather than secondhand information from me or even from careers advisors, you know, everywhere, is to phone the universities, speak to the admissions officers, speak to them direct, understand what their needs are, what they need to do, find the right course. Don't base it on just the university name, but find the right course that ignites the fire in them. It's a great way for driving A-levels. So yeah, I think we do quite a holistic approach to preparing students for that. And of course, some of it comes with the independent learning that's sort of integral to Cambridge. And as you get older in Cambridge, the teacher input becomes less and less and less, and a lot more of a facilitator and a resource, rather than just the sage on the stage delivering all the information.
All right. So there's less of spoon feeding compared to other schools, I would say that. And the students are more self-motivated. Okay.
Definitely.
And sir, what is that one thing that students at your institution enjoy the most?
I think there's a couple of things. I'm sorry to change your question. I think they enjoy the relationships with teachers. I think because we personalize so much and we facilitate an environment where they feel safe, there is a great line of communication between student and staff member. And I think that's one thing our children actually enjoy. I think the variety of extracurricular activities helps as well. We run a whole host of things, you know, from craft work to drama workshops, you know, across a weekend. We have master classes with people coming across with different skill sets. The students really engage with those. So I think it's a wide answer, and there isn't just one thing. I think it's very difficult to pin it to one thing, if I'm honest with you. But certainly, I get the sense that our students are very happy here. We have very few discipline problems, very few. I think I can count on one hand students who've been admonished in the last 5 months, something like that, since we've been back. So it's a very, very pleasant place to be.
Great, great. All right. So, sir, how supportive or dedicated are the teachers? I'm sure they are, like you've already spoken about them, but what sets them apart? Because all teachers are trying to help the students in different schools. So, what sets the teachers
Definitely.
apart of King's College?
I think the things, and for sure they are dedicated, there's no doubt about that. That was shown with every member of this profession during the pandemic, how they stepped up, changed things overnight. I still am in awe of all of the staff members who did so. I think the thing that sets them apart is their constant desire for growth. They're always looking to upskill. And a lot of it is not about, can I get a certificate? A lot of it is, how can I improve myself? How can I improve the student experience? So, for example, the next 3 months, a huge part of our development plan is on the teaching and learning experience more than anything else. So, you know, the task I've given them for homework over the summer holiday is a list of 20 educational philosophers and design a cross-pollinating scheme of work to last 3 weeks for when they come back. And then we're going to present that, we're going to look at it, break it down, analyze it, so that other staff members can collaborate and sort of say, okay, I'll take that part, I'll take that part, brilliant. Now I'll put it together. So almost a postmodern way of planning, but good fun. And the response from teachers has been great in that regard. So yeah, I would say their drive is what sets them apart.
So I see there are a lot of workshops also, like you've mentioned, you're conducting workshops and brainstorming sessions for the teachers, so they come up with better ideas, newer approach. All right. So, sir, what are the privileges a child gets from having studied a Cambridge curriculum? And is this curriculum recognized in India when it comes to government jobs and various types of jobs?
Yeah, let's deal with the easy ones first. Yes, it's recognized. Yes, it's recognized by both the government and universities. I've been in touch with many universities who are more than happy with the caliber of student that comes through after graduating from Cambridge. I'm not so sure I'd call it a privilege. So I might, as an English teacher, I might change things a little bit there and sort of say it's more of a reward, an earned reward, because Cambridge is hard. It's not easy. So the rewards that they get, I suppose, range from access to Lord knows how many universities around the world. Virtually every country accepts Cambridge qualifications. But beyond that, I would suggest that it's more a state of mind. It's that sense of independence, a sense of, I can do this, nothing phases me. So for me, you've got tangible rewards, such as the university access, and intangibles, such as the aspect, the attitude. And it's not arrogance, it's more a confidence in themselves that allows them to move forward and succeed. And there's no doubt that, I mean, there was a study done by the University of Cape Town recently, a 5-year study where they compared state students to Cambridge students. And I think 86% of state students dropped out in the first semester of accessing university, and compare that to 93% of Cambridge students who went to UCT, who went on to pass their first degree. So statistically, the figures really do bear it out, really what the quality is about Cambridge.
All right. And so what is the difference between IGCSE and A levels? Could you please explain to our viewers?
Sure. Now, don't get me wrong, but there is a huge step between IG and AS level. And it's a step that students who go there have to be made aware of, because subjects become so much deeper at AS level and A level. The intensity is there, but you reduce the number of subjects in order to accommodate that. So I would say the first big difference is in depth and pace more than anything else. In terms of IGCSE, it's quite a broad curriculum. Our students take 9 subjects, 5 of which are core and 4 are optional subjects. And we advise them to keep it as broad as possible so the combination works, and to think about what's going to happen in 2 years' time if they want to go on to A level. So generally, most subjects are followed through into AS level, and it's good to have that foundation. However, you can pick up certain subjects like business, economics, those kind of commercials. You can just start those at AS level, not a problem at all. But breadth is key for Cambridge IGCSEs. Some are coursework based, others are full examination. When you get into A level, it's all full examination. So for me, again, logistically, one of the big things is coursework versus examination. Second is the breadth that you have, because the expectation is at A level, you'll start to specialize. So if you want to go into medicine at university, you should be doing mathematics, physics, mathematics, chemistry, biology, a combination similar to that. You want to go into engineering, you're going to do mathematics, you're going to do physics, you're going to do chemistry. And the idea is that that sets you up again for university. So the big difference is really the depth of the courses, and I suppose the manner in which they're taught. There are fundamental differences there, because teacher input becomes less at A level, and you become more of a facilitator.
So sir, is okay. So my next question is that is the institute open to international students? The institute considers international admissions?
Sorry, Leena, the audio's gone. Okay.
So my next question is that does the institute consider international admissions?
Absolutely, we embrace them. And prior to the pandemic, we had probably about 20–25% of our students in boarding were foreign students coming from Thailand, from Bangladesh. A lot of the attraction is the English immersion that comes from Thailand, but absolutely, we embrace it.
All right. And so what about students who have studied in a state level or a CBSE school in the past, and now they want to switch to Cambridge? So how do you bridge the gap? First, do you accept these students, and how do you bridge the gap?
We do accept them. Obviously, we have entrance examinations, which they're not really entrance examinations. They're more diagnostic tools for us as a school to understand where strengths and weaknesses lie. The first thing we would always do is establish a baseline data on every student. And from there, we actually have a 3-month program that allows students catch-up time in order to reintegrate full-time into classrooms. It does get harder the older a student becomes, because there are different subject selections and combinations, but that's manageable, absolutely manageable, because most of the core element of the Cambridge program we run is present in, for example, the CBSE system. Where a student doesn't require support, we're there to sort of revise and go over things. So we have a structure in place for that.
All right. And so coming to one question, actually, this question was not very important, at least in India, for a few years, but after the pandemic, that has shook us all. And it has taught us that health and wellness of a person is of utmost importance. How does King College ensure health and wellness, safety and security of its students, especially the boarders?
Yeah, it is. I mean, mental health in particular is one of the things that for many years has not been spoken about. It's been the unseen illness. And it's now come out into the open, which I think is brilliant. And my final 2 weeks of teaching PSHE here was on talking to sixth form students about things like depression, self-harm, anxiety, eating disorders, and so on and so forth. So we have a program that's in place with PSHE that deals with a lot of that, brings it out into the open, facilitates the conversations. With our boarders, we've got a great pastoral team who work with them.
Pause the record.
So do you want to ask?
So, sir, how does King College ensure health and wellness, safety and security of its students, especially the day boarders? Sorry, the boarders.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things we could talk about all day, I'm sure. Thankfully, as a result of the pandemic, one of the good things that's come out is that we're freely talking about mental health and well-being and all of those kind of things, and basic growth of every single child and taking care of that. So we have a few things in place here. From a physical security area, we are very isolated in Rohtak. It's wonderful. So it's an incredibly peaceful place to be. So from a physical security perspective, all our students are very well catered for. From a psychological area, I think for our boarders, we've got a great pastoral team, and our house parents are very much like parents. Every waking moment is spent with the students. We try and get them to take some time off, but they choose not to. They're really, really involved with the students. And of course, we have safeguarding training within the school. Every staff member who interacts with any child has to undertake safeguarding training. We also have people who sort of support children with different emotional needs as well. So we've got, for example, a gentleman called Mr. Ravi, who's in charge of our SEN department, who really does filter quite a lot of information through to teachers so that they can adapt their lessons in accordance with that. Again, it's quite a happy place, but the pandemic's taught us one thing: it's that can soon be burst.
True, true. So, sir, we have prepared some lighter questions. You've really given us a lot of information about the Cambridge curriculum, about King's College. So now we have some lighter questions for you. Hope you don't mind answering them.
Okay.
Let's begin. So, if you were in a parallel universe, you would be.
Oh, no, I'm not sure. I would probably be an author, if I'm honest with you. I'd be writing stellar mystery novels and all those kind of things. So probably an author, either that or an actor. I did some work at stage school as a youngster and loved it. And yeah, either of those two, I think.
And you called yourself boring. You're not. How do you start? Yes, so those are not the traits of a boring person. So how do you start your Mondays, sir?
My Mondays are always started with a really good cup of tea, really strong, and it just sets me up for the day. From there,
sorry to
I mean,
interrupt you.
work-wise,
I'm sorry, you said tea. With milk or without milk?
With milk, always with milk. Black tea with milk and sugar, definitely.
The Indian way?
Very much the British way, I'm afraid.
All right, please continue. Yes, sir. So you're telling me how you start your Monday. So tea, and please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, generally it's a really strong cup of tea, and most days I skip out of bed anyway because I'm doing a job that I love to do, so it doesn't feel like a job. So yeah, it's my cup of tea, and then I sit down and I review my needs for the week and hopefully prioritize them correctly, and then crack on. And that's really me for the start of the week. Yeah.
Sure. So how do you spend your weekends then?
This is where the boring part comes in. I'm very, very much a family man, and I love spending time with my youngest daughter now. She's 16, and my oldest is 25. It makes me feel old. But my youngest one, she's big into her vinyl, so it's nice to be a part of her vision and all those kind of things. So a lot of time spent with her. I love to read all types of novels, biographies, and consume them like there's no tomorrow. So if I get a spare moment, it's on the sofa, take the book out, another cup of tea, and thoroughly get lost and embroiled in a really good novel. So outside of that, it's sports. I love watching sports. So all kinds of them, particularly boxing, rugby, football, athletics, swimming, tennis. Amazing match the other night with Djokovic and Nadal. So yeah, I mean, I'll consume anything, but I'm also a bit of a film buff as well. So it's nice to get lost a bit of losing reality in a good movie as well.
So I guess your Indian students would want to know if you've watched any Indian films, probably translated, dubbed in English, but have you?
I have indeed, and Netflix is brilliant at the moment. It's one of those things, since I've been in India and prior to coming, I sort of made a point of just trying to understand from a cultural perspective, how the media works. And it's worked really well. So I love the color and flair and the camera angles, which are slightly different to both Bollywood and Nollywood films, Hollywood and Nollywood films and things like that. So it's quite fascinating. If you were doing a mise-en-scène analysis, it would be totally different to what I'm used to, which is something I'm eager to do.
True, true. And what has been your biggest inspiration, sir?
Ooh, in life or in I don't know. I mean, there are so many different inspirations out there. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go. Yeah. Okay, I shan't go down the route of being cliched and say my parents. Everyone does. I think the person who motivated me to really change things up a little bit and do something a bit different with my life was a comedian, actor, writer, and traveler, Michael Palin. So back in the sort of early 90s, he produced a TV show called Pole to Pole, and it just sparked this fire in me that there are so many other cultures out there that I didn't know about, and places that I desperately wanted to see. And my first trip overseas as a teacher was to Botswana, and I made a point of visiting some of the places that he'd been to. And so I would say, out of lots of different people, he's the one that sort of sticks in my mind more than anything else.
Great, great. So has it ever happened that you unexpectedly learned something totally new from a student?
Oh, it happens all the time, especially with language, modern day language. Every time they say a new word like yeet or something, I'm there looking at an Urban Dictionary. What is this all about? So language is a key part, definitely. I think one thing that always sort of sticks in my mind, I always remember one student from many years ago. We were running a P4C session, Philosophy for Children, and he turned around and said, "Why can't every day be a weekend?" And it just made me think so much about the way in which young people and teenagers think, and it still sits with me today. I don't have an answer, even as a literature historian. I don't have an answer at all. I could give a one that's based on politics and economics, but it wouldn't satisfy them. But that's one that sticks in my mind, definitely.
So, sir, what would be your advice to the students watching this?
I think, I suppose 50 years of wisdom count for something every now and again. And I think the best advice I can give to any young person watching this is really grab every opportunity. It's so competitive out there in the world at the moment. So it's really important that young people are able to recognize and grab every opportunity that they can.
Mm-hmm. And so any words of wisdom for the students? See, it's very normal to fail. It's natural. You will not succeed every time, but any words of wisdom for those students who fail and they get so demotivated that they do not try again?
Sure. For me, it's never the end of the road. There are a million and one ways to get to where you need to get to. It's not always the linear pathway. So you've got to get up, you've got to dust yourself off, and you've got to keep going. What's the alternative?
So what about parents, sir? What would be your advice to the parents watching this? They have too many expectations. That's what I feel. So what would be your advice to parents?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a driven parent, and that certainly filters down to the child. I think the one thing that I would always say to parents is, do not try and live your life through your child. And you want a child to respect what you've done for them, then let them make their choices, let them live their life with our guidance as a parent. Okay, fire away.
So with this, we come to the end of our interview with the Headmaster, Paul J. Page. Thank you so much for your time, and we wish you and King's College India all the very best. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, no, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And you've been the most gracious host, Leena. Thank you so much. And really have a fabulous day. Have a fabulous week.
You too, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.